Hey guys, it's Steve with Interglobal Comics, back again with another video breaking down foreign comics by country. So we are on C. Check out my last video if you want to see the books I had from Brazil, and I had another video before that. But today we're in C, so starting out, we're in Canada. So this is a French-Canadian giant size X-Men 1. You can see that they use the splash page as the cover. And this, I believe these were printed in the 80s. So they're printed a little bit after, probably about 10 years or 6-7 years after the original came out. But, cool book, cool variation. They have real kind of red colors used on the cover. These, French-Canadian books, they come up for sale on American eBay every once in a while. These, the 3-in-1, I don't believe are considered as rare as like some of the other French-Canadian books from the 70s. But I'm not a French-Canadian expert. I got this book for $15, I think 2 or 3 years ago on eBay. So, I'm happy. I know they're selling for a lot more. But, I feel like this is one you could definitely kind of just keep your eyes out and you'll find one eventually. So now we go to the what I would consider the hard books to find. These are the French-Canadian books from the 70s. I think this one is from 74, 75, Tomb of Dracula 10. These were printed very quickly after the American comics came out. Beautiful books. Sometimes have a little bit of a color variation, but good looking book. This one, I got a couple years ago. I didn't pay too much for it either. I think I paid about $100 for it. But I got in earlier than most. I know they're selling for much more than that now. And then we've got French-Canadian first Taskmaster. I bought this one a while ago from a friend JF in Canada. And this is a low grade copy, but I don't think I paid much more than $20 for it. And I just like the blue, like the baby blue in the background. I just like that color variation. I think it looks really good. So here's X-Men 101. I bought this one at the same time I got the giant size X-Men 1 and paid about the same $30 for this one, but this one's actually in pretty nice condition. So if I wanted to slab one of these French-Canadian books, it could probably be this one because it is in nice condition. But good looking cover, kind of interesting how they they had used the cover image, but they spent a lot of time kind of just on the logo boxes and a lot of space on those boxes. So it's just something different, more characters on the cover. We've got Hulk 180, Wolverine Cameo. This one I found on American eBay. This one I found a while ago. This one I probably got like 4 or 5 years ago. And one of these sold recently on American eBay for really cheap, which was very surprising to me. I guess maybe the seller just didn't know what they had. But it has a backup story. You can see a couple backup stories. But there you go. Yeah, there's Wolverine and this Cameo. So 180. And then if you got 180, you gotta have 181, I feel like. This is the French-Canadian Hulk 181. No one's really exactly sure why they used a different cover. It's like an interior panel. This is actually if you look at the interior panel, this is actually Wendigo punching Hulk. But we call this like the blonde Wolverine cover just because it's kind of, you would assume that's Wolverine on the cover since, he's the main kind of thing going on in this book. But I bought this a few years ago as well. This one is kind of low grade. It's got a tape pull and it's got a flap there that's a tear on the cover, but interior it's Hulk 181. And there's been different theories about why they use this cover art. Some said it went to print before they got the actual cover from Marvel, so they just had to go with the interior panel rather than use the Hulk 181 cover. But for whatever reason, it's a cool piece to that set. I love this book, and I paid about $100 for it, but that was like 4 years ago. I think these now are going for well over that. I'd say $500 plus, probably even in this condition. All right, so this is actually a Belgium Detective Comics, but they were sold in Canada. I don't have a Belgium area in my boxes because I have very few comics from there, so I just put it in the Canada box, I guess. But it's first appearance of Robin. I think this is from the 70s, so it's not a super old book, but it's just a cool book to have for that cover. And I think one of these sold not too long ago for over $100, which seems like a solid sale. Next we've got just a key X-Men. What is it? I think this is like the Death of Phoenix. Great looking cover, but for some reason they decided to put a coupon for chips right smack dab in the middle of the cover, covering up that beautiful artwork. I'm not sure why they did that, but it's kind of funny to look at. And when I posted this on Instagram, someone said these chips still exist in Canada and that they're delicious. So that's good to know. I doubt this coupon's valid anymore. It looks like it expired in March of 1986. So we've got the Canadian Spider-Man 361, First Carnage. Good looking book. Pretty much looks exactly like the American. I like the back cover. I think it's this edition has, yeah, Carnage on the back cover. So these, like most of the Canadian books, French Canadian books, were printed pretty much right, almost at the same time as their American counterparts. Next one is a big one. Was this showcase, first appearance of Flash. This, was printed, I believe, in the 70s, so it's not like a really old, Silver Age copy or anything like that. But it is, aside from the German reprint from like the 2000s, this is the only foreign that uses this cover. There are a couple Italians that have a similar cover that contains Showcase 4, but none of them have the exact same cover as the American edition. They actually use more of like I think it's the Flash Annual 1 cover. So I think that there's a few countries that use that cover, but this is the only one that uses the original. So this one I've been looking for quite a long time, and I was happy to buy it. There's a seller in the Facebook group that sold it for, I can't quite remember what I paid. I think it was 100 to 120. It's lower grade, but I'm happy to have it. This is a Spider-Man 122, Death of Green Goblin, right after the death of Gwen Stacy. This is a pretty high grade copy of this. The colors on it are real dark compared to the US version, and Spider-Man's almost like black. So I'm not sure what was going on with the colors there, but just a cool version of that classic cover. So now we got another X-Men key, X-Men 94. Again, like the giant size X-Men, they used a splash page. It's kind of weird to use the splash page on this one because it's Professor X looking in a mirror at his whole team. You would have thought they would have used the other cover, the original cover, but it's just a cool piece to the set. And the colors, everyone's real red again, just like on the giant size X-Men one. All right, so now we'll leave Canada and we're gonna go to Croatia. So this is giant size X-Men 1 in Croatia. I guess Croatia didn't get the rights to Marvel comics, or I don't even know if they had comics before the 90s. So they used this cover. It's a pretty hideous cover. And look at Nightcrawler. He looks like a meth head. But it's interesting. But it is the interior. You can see it is giant size X-Men 1. And this one was printed in, actually, let's see, 1997 it says. So yeah, this is pretty late. So this is, probably when, it might have even been a little bit after when the X-Men were crazy popular in the 90s. So they made their way all the way to Croatia as well. And here's another one from Croatia, X-Men 94. For some reason, the coloring is different on this one. You can see Colossus has a, skin-colored head, but then the rest of them is made out of armor. and then Banshees over here, and Cyclops, and I think the whole cover is flipped as well. All right, so now leaving Croatia, we've got Chile. So here's the Chilean Conan 1. All these Chilean keys, they're basically considered just ghost books. They're hard to find. They have really beautiful interiors. I actually got lucky. This is my second copy of this book. I needed some money to buy something else, so I sold one copy and somehow was able to come up with a second copy. Let's see. But yeah, you can see the colors on there, pretty nice. But yeah, cool book. And these are from the 70s, so it's an older comic. I had a nice Chilean Iron Man 1, but I sold that to John Z, I think last year. But you can't keep them all, and I do keep a whole lot of them, but you can't keep every single one. All right, so let me pull this out. Next one we have is the world's tiniest Batman Adventures 12. This is from Costa Rica. These were included with Pepsi products, I guess, in Costa Rica, and you had to collect a certain number of bottles or cans, and then they would give you these comics. There's actually 3, so in order to get the complete Batman Adventures 12, you need all 3. So this is just the one. I guess I'll open it up. I bought this from a guy in Costa Rica. I'm not going to open it up. It's going to be too much of a pain. So these were a pretty new discovery. These we didn't even know existed up until a couple years ago. So extremely difficult to find. Probably going to be one of the harder ones to find. There is a guy in Costa Rica that's looking for them, Jeff. But if he's not finding them anymore, then I doubt we'll see more come to market. And he threw in this one as well as a freebie when I bought the Batman Adventures 12. All right, and I think the last country with the C, or no, I've got 2 more. This is Colombia. ASM 101, first appearance of Morbius. This is probably, tied, I guess, or I'm not sure. Depends on who you're talking to. Some say this is the hardest ASM 101 to find in the world. Other people say it is the Mexican La Prensa, because for whatever reason that one is just really tough to find. But a cool book, smaller size. This one's pretty low grade, but just a fun book to have. And this one could probably drive collectors crazy if they're trying to build that ASM 101 set. All right, so the final book the final country we have is Czechoslovakia, or we'll just go Czech. We'll just say that. Star Wars 1. It's like a thick kind of trade paperback. So this includes, I believe, 1 through 6 issues. This one is not as new or not as old as you would think it was. It's most of these Star Wars comics were printed around the time of the movie's release, but this one was actually printed, let's see, in 1992. So yeah, 1992 is when this came out. Cool book. Not sure why it took them so long to print it, but it's a good looking copy. And you would have thought they would have reprinted it like when they re-released all the Star Wars movies, but that came later, I think, in the 90s or maybe even early 2000s. But yeah, I got this from a buddy who's a big Star Wars collector, and he had a couple extra copies that he sold. So I was happy to pick this one up. I think I paid about $60 for it. But yeah, not going to be an easy one to find from Czechoslovakia, but if you're a Star Wars collector, you're definitely going to want that one. All right, so I think that's it for the countries that start with C. I'll have to look to see what countries will be coming up next, but hope you enjoyed it. See you later.